Welcome back to Ballaholics, the show for those who simply can't get enough of basketball. I'm your host, Sam Israel. We are joined once again by Ian Mills. Ian, we got a lot of action in the NFL going on. Tomorrow, we got the Bucks, we got the Packers, we got your Bills, we got the Chiefs. Ian, man, this is going to be crazy. But before we go into NFL, let's talk about NBA and let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets because I covered a small episode about the Brooklyn Nets, but I wanted to get another episode with Ian in it, and we're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets trade. Ian, what's your reactions of them acquiring James Harden?
Well, obviously, so now you have two top 10 players in the NBA, Harden and KD, and then Kyrie, arguably probably top 20, maybe top 15. I think it depends on how much he actually plays this season, how well he plays in the playoffs. But I think what's bigger to me is they mortgaged their future. I mean, we all know this, but they gave up till 2028 they won't have their first round pick, correct? I mean, here's the thing. This makes them like a top 3 roster in the NBA. I don't think it makes them the best. I still think the Lakers are the favorite over them. So it is like you have to win a champ. Like if you don't win a championship with this team, like this might go down as one of the worst trades of all time for the Nets. That being said, in the NBA, like all that matters is championships. No one cares about anything except really championships. Like we rate the greatest players of all time simply of how many championships they have. So in that respect, I get it. In a league where championships are number one and there really is no number 2, I totally get that. But yeah, it does kind of force them in win now mode and just hope that everyone stays healthy and that because in 3 or 4 years, right, like these guys are going to be getting up there in age and it's going to be a lot harder to win a championship with, a 35-year-old KD than it is with a 30-year-old KD. So, I like it because it puts them in a better position to win it all. But if they don't win it all, it might go down as one of the worst trades of all time. So, it's interesting. Like, I get why they did it, but it is certainly a risky move by the Nets. And first off, a great move by the Rockets. The fact that they're getting that many picks for a guy who didn't want to play for them, who literally said, I want out in a press conference. Like, yeah, I mean, I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah, and this reminds me of the Brooklyn Nets deja vu back in the day when they traded KG and Paul Pierce to the Nets and gave up all their first-rounders. And then we saw what happened. Here they are doing it again. We'll see if history repeats itself. But I will say that this super team, they're not all old like Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, so hopefully we'll see a better result.
Right.
Now, my main takeaway is this, Ian, and simple as this. This is LeBron's world, and the rest of us are living in it. It's LeBron's league, and everyone else is living in it. And the whole reason why this team was formed was to literally stop LeBron. You look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant constantly needs to build and form super teams in order to beat LeBron. We saw it when he left OKC to join Golden State with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And now here he is in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and James Harden. How about Kyrie Irving in his perspective of how his life revolves around LeBron James? Well, he wanted to trade when he was with LeBron James because he wanted to be the man. Well, Ian, I don't know if he's the man now in Brooklyn. I mean, Kevin Durant, James Harden, I don't even know if Kyrie Irving would be considered to be the Robin. But never mind that. How about James Harden now? Well, James Harden didn't want to be in the West any longer with the Houston Rockets because guess what? Guess who they got blown out to twice in a row before he got traded? The Lakers. LeBron and the Lakers. Right. The entire league revolves around LeBron James. This is an effort to defeat and overthrow LeBron James. Now, Ian, are they going to do it?
I don't think so.
I don't think they're going to. You still have LeBron James. You have Anthony Davis. That team, although Brooklyn has more of a natural talent, like they have, on paper, they have more talent. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the synergy in LA land, it's just too much for Brooklyn. So overall, I just think that they're not going to have enough in the tank to defeat LeBron and the Lakers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. 2 more things I want to touch on is I think it honestly might come down to if Kyrie shows up in the playoffs because we've seen him, obviously with the Cavs where he was insane in the playoffs. And then we saw him with the Celtics where he was, not that good. He was kind of like an average NBA player. So I think that matters a lot. And we're really not going to, we might not know if this was a good trade for like 5 years. Like it could be that in 2028, the Rockets pick like the next LeBron James with the Nets pick and the Rockets automatically win, whatever. But last thing I want to touch on about this trade was Jarrett Allen being traded for nothing is just mind-boggling. I mean, he was probably the third best player, maybe they're fourth behind Karis LeVert before the trade. And for them to keep DeAndre Jordan, which I know his contract is making about $11 million a year, I believe. So it's not super easy to move him. It's a lot harder to move him than Jarrett Allen. But you're moving. The Cavs got him for nothing. It's confusing.
They gave up a first round pick, I believe, right? I
didn't think they did, but either way, a first round pick, which will probably be. I mean, the Cavs are playing pretty well right now. I mean, they're probably going to be like late lottery, I would guess, or maybe if they sneak in as the 8th seed, like it's gonna be a fine, like it'll be an okay pick. But for Jarrett Allen, you take that. You absolutely take that. So.
And he's one of the most underrated centers in the league, I believe.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best defensive big men in the league right now in terms of defensively and like his blocks and his rim protection. And I think the Nets are gonna miss that. Nothing against DeAndre Jordan, but we all know why DeAndre Jordan was starting in Brooklyn over Jarrett Allen. We all know why, Ian.
Yeah.
You know, the politics with Kyrie and KD, they call the shots. This is the players-oriented league. So
yeah. Also, Karis LeVert leaving, or Karis LeVert being traded. Essentially, I mean, the Pacers getting rid of Victor Oladipo for Karis LeVert. That's another move where I'm like, that's kind of interesting. Like
for who? Which side do you think got the other side?
Well, I think it's Victor Oladipo. Like at one point, I mean, he was kind of been injured the last 2 seasons or so, but at one point he was an all-star. Like he probably a bench all-star, but he was an all-star. And Karis LeVert was, again, about 2 years ago, a very fine NBA player, and then he had injuries. So he's like, okay, it seems like one of those trades that it's like, okay, like it's not something I expected, and it's just kind of. I don't think either team really like. I mean, I guess the Rockets. Right now, would rather have Victor Oladipo than Karis LeVert. I think both of them are kind of like similar enough players. Maybe Victor Oladipo has a bit of an edge, but I don't think. It was just an interesting trade, I guess.
Well, I think the Indiana completely trade raped the Rockets in that regard. Victor Oladipo was on his way out. They were having contract arguments. They weren't getting along with the contract. Victor Oladipo is injury prone. He's older. Karis LeVert's younger. He has more upside on the Nets team that featured Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving as a third option, came off the bench and averaged 19 points. So I think the Indiana Pacers did amazing in that trade. For the Rockets, I don't know why you just should have kept Karis LeVert at that point, I believe. Victor Oladipo has 1 year left on his contract. He's been on the record saying that he wants to go to Miami. He doesn't want to stay in Houston. So I'm a little bamboozled by the fact that you would let Karis LeVert go and trade for Victor Oladipo. So I was a little confused there for the Houston Rockets.
I think with the Rockets, I mean, at this point, you're kind of in a position like, we just lost one of the best players in the NBA. We got, I mean, however well they play this year, I mean, maybe they're going to push for a playoff spot, but you're probably at a point where you're going to be rebuilding, especially with that pick. So I guess taking on an expiring contract that maybe you trade at the deadline, like, yeah, I mean, you get a pick for him or whatever it may be, or a young guy. And they just got Kevin Porter. So for the Rockets, I think it's more or less like, yeah, we'll take on an expiring contract if it means we win an extra 5 games or whatever it may be. But
Definitely. And you know what? I know on a previous episode, Ian, when we were discussing, we had some bold predictions from the beginning of the NBA season. I said the Brooklyn Nets were not going to make the NBA Finals, but I find myself here having to make an announcement. I'm going to have to rescind my bold take because the Nets are making it to the finals now with James Harden and Kevin Durant. I think they're too much. I just want to add here that I love James Harden's fit with Brooklyn. I feel like in Brooklyn, you're playing in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets, that's a street ball culture. Not only do they play to win games, but they play to entertain people. And this is going to be one of the most entertaining teams to watch in the NBA. They're like a walking circus. You got a 7-footer who can take the ball up the court and shoot anywhere on the field over anyone because he's so tall. You have James Harden who can shoot his step-back threes. No one else can replicate it. And Kyrie Irving's ball handling skills. They all have like their own like signature unstoppable skill. And that's really important in the playoffs because in the playoffs, the other team game plan to try and stop your system as a whole. So like you can stop the Bucks, Giannis driving in the rim and then, dishing it out. But you can't really stop the intangibles. And I think this Brooklyn Nets team, Kyrie Irving said on a podcast, which got him in trouble with LeBron, listen, I have someone else in Kevin Durant that can shoot that last shot. Well, now he has 2 people because James Harden could do that too. So overall, I'm super excited for Brooklyn. Though I will say, the last thing I will say, Ian, is, as a suffering Knicks fan, This could have been New York Knicks. This could have been the Knicks. Like, if Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving signed with New York, we could have easily, created a trade. We could have traded away R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson or something for James Harden. The big three should have been in New York. It should have been the Knicks. But you know what, Ian? I'm happy. You know why? Not because the Knicks lost to your Sacramento Kings yesterday, but because even though the Brooklyn Nets are the 7th seed in the East, guess who's the 8th seed?
New York Knicks.
My New York Knicks. Julius Randle, too much to handle. Emmanuel Quickly, too quick with his ball handling skills, with his scoring. R.J. Barrett's turning into a superstar. So I'm hyped up. You know what? We didn't even need them anyway. You know why, Ian? Because look at all the media drama around Kyrie Irving. Ian, as you can tell, I'm trying to talk myself out of this. I'm trying to talk myself out of having KD and Kyrie. I'm just rambling on here, and I'm going to digress here and just give it back to you because I'm getting upset now.
No, I get you. I get it. But, actually, we talked about it last episode, or the last episode I was in, about Kyrie. A lot of stuff has come about him in the last week. He seems to have actually left the game a little bit for a good reason. So, and I said that a week ago. I defended, or 2 weeks or whatever it might have been. I defended Kyrie then, and I'm still obviously staying with
Here's my thing. The reason why he left, I completely resonate with that. I think mental health is an extremely underrated topic, and that people need to pay more attention to that, no doubt. Now, my one problem I had with Kyrie Irving is not that you owe it to the fans necessarily, but you're telling me you couldn't text your teammates, you couldn't text your coach or the organization that you play for. My problem wasn't the actual topic or the actual issue of why he didn't play, but it was the way in which he communicated that. And I think that it's a really important topic. And if he was more communicative and he's spoken out more about it to his teammates and his coaches, that would have been fine. You don't have to even go to the fans or the press. But, the fact that Steve Nash and Kevin Durant didn't even know what was going on, I don't know. I didn't love that. But overall, good reason that he was out for. And it's good to have him back. He's looked really good so far. He had 38 points in their last outing and 37 points in the one before that, I believe. And he's shooting basically over 50% too. So he looks legitimate. In that offense, in order for it to work too, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before we move on, James Harden has to be the facilitator. Because it's weird because Kyrie Irving's the point guard. But really, James Harden should be the point guard. He's more of a point guard. Kyrie Irving's more of a go-to scorer, more of a scorer. Kevin Durant can also dish the ball out, and I think they're also underrated defenders, Kevin Durant and James Harden. But overall, James Harden needs to be more of a facilitator for that team. And in terms of the defensive criticisms they're getting, it's ridiculous because James Harden is an above-average defender. We saw it in the playoffs last season when he blocked Luke Dort. And Kevin Durant's also an underrated defender and should be an all-defensive team, first team. That's it.
They just let the Cavs score 130 in consecutive games. The worst offense in the NBA, the Cavs scored 130.
The first game.
It was two straight games. Whatever. But it's fine. That's fine. We'll see. Only time will tell. I think they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. Defensively, they're gonna figure it out. But
Ian, they don't need defense. Their assistant coaches? It's Mike D'Antoni.
Oh, there you go.
Double the offense, half the defense.
Yeah. There it is.
All right, let's go on. Let's stop talking about the NBA for a bit. Let's go on to the NFL, Ian. This is the moment you've been waiting for, Ian, because your Buffalo Bills are now taking over the AFC. Apparently, they now find themselves in the AFC Championship game on Sunday. They'll play at 6:40, and right now the Chiefs are the 3-point favorite for that game. Ian, what are your predictions?
All right, here. I've been, going into this game, I knew it was going to be obviously the Chiefs are going to be favored. The Chiefs are at home. Mahomes is the best player in the NFL this year. Maybe Rodgers played better than he did, but still Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. They might have the best roster in the NFL. They have, not the best, but Mahomes makes up enough for the fact that the Chiefs don't have to have a perfect roster, right? Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are maybe the best receiver tight end tandem. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, struggled as of late, but he's been, in the second half of the year when he was injured for a couple of games, I believe. But he has been. He's had very, very good games, especially early on in the season. I get why, they're favored. I entirely understand why they're the favorites. But the Bills are winning this game. I don't want to be a coward and say, the favorite is going to win because, look, Josh Allen, here's the way I'll put it. The Bills held Lamar Jackson to 3 points in a windy game. The Ravens don't throw the ball, and they still only scored 3 points. So, their defense shows up. If their defense shows up like it did last week and their offense shows up like it did the last couple of weeks of the season, I don't know how the Bills lose this game. I mean, they're such a complete team. It's crazy to me that, like, I look at Twitter, I watch shows, I watch ESPN, I watch Barstool, whatever it is. Everyone has the Chiefs. No one's taking the Bills in this game. And I'm just wondering, like, how much of a coward do you have to be to take the Chiefs? It's like at the beginning of the year saying the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl for the last 15 years. Like, yeah, I mean, they won every other Super Bowl for the last 20 years. Like, I'm not going to say that that's a bad pick, but it's like, have some guts, have some heart. Pick the underdog, even if it's not even that big of an underdog. The Bills are just barely behind the Chiefs right now. I mean, I don't think it's a huge gap. The Chiefs, mind you, Patrick Mahomes played with the first 3 quarters of that game. They were not blowing out the Browns. The Browns were keeping up with them, if not for a touchback, which is a bad rule in the NFL, where Rashard Higgins fumbled it out of the back of the end zone. The Chiefs might have won that game. I mean, like, the Chiefs have not dominated a team in weeks. I mean, they almost lost to the Atlanta Falcons at home, if not for a Younghoe Koo, who is maybe the best kicker in the NFL, missed kick. I mean, the Chiefs have not played a very good game in a couple of weeks, and the Bills haven't played their best game in the playoffs as of yet. That being said, I think the Bills have showed flashes this year of being the best team in the NFL, especially down the stretch. I think they're going to play it together. I think they'll take care of the Chiefs, and I think they're going to the Super Bowl for the first time since 1993. Thank you very much. Go Bills.
I'm Ian. I say it as a Knicks fan all the time. A man can dream. But I will say, I think you owe it to your viewers that you tell them to take the money out right now. Take the money out of the Bills. The money was in there in the beginning of the season, and you got a lot of dividends. You were getting a lot of interest off that money. But I think now it's time. Tell your viewers, be responsible. I know it's hard to do because you have a conflict of interest because you love the team with all of your heart. But just know that there's someone named Patrick Mahomes on the other team that the Bills do not have. Before I even talk about this magical figure, the Buffalo, I do want to give you guys Patrick Mahomes, Buffalo Bills. Let me just say, I do want to give you guys a shout. I go in and begin to dig in. I want to be a little more positive here before I go in and begin to dig in, to your take right now. Go into your pick. I think the Bills are, they're going to rule the AFC East for the foreseeable future. Josh Allen's 24 years old. He's been improving. He improved this season drastically. He now has a 69% completion rate. He had a 59% completion rate last year. He went from 20 to 37 touchdowns. So he's getting better. He's ascending, and they're going to be a great team in the AFC East, Ian. But this game, look, it's not going to be it's not all bad they lose. They're going to lose, Ian. I'm sorry. The Bills are going to lose. But it won't all be bad because they're going to gain a lot of experience playing in a high caliber game. But you see, Ian, here's the problem. The Kansas City Chiefs already have the experience. And they have the experience because they had someone who didn't need to have the experience to win the Super Bowl. We look at Patrick Mahomes, his first year in the league starting for the Kansas City Chiefs. He wins the MVP award in the 2018-2019 season, and he went to the AFC Championship game and basically lost to Tom Brady in overtime because he didn't even have a chance to respond to Tom Brady. Think about this, Ian. In that game, 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Kansas City is down by 3. They are at their own 20-yard line. They have to get in field goal range. Patrick Mahomes does a magical drive, 60-yard drive in the last 30 seconds of the game to even up the game to go to overtime. He's there in the clutch moments, and he has proven he didn't need to lose games and get better. He didn't just need to get better. He was already there, Ian. We look the season after that, in 2020, they win the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, did I forget to mention they were down 20-10 in the fourth quarter? Wait, did I also forget to mention that in the divisional round that year, they were down 24-0 to the Houston Texans, and Patrick Mahomes came back once again. You know what, Ian? Here's the problem. They're just an explosive offense. You can't stop them. They have the fastest land mammal in history in Tyreek Hill. They have Travis Kelce. They have Patrick Mahomes. You can't defeat this Kansas City Chiefs team. They are for real, Ian. I'm sorry to tell you this. I am a friend of yours. I am looking out for your overall health. Ian, do not dilute yourself. Do not think that your team has even a slimmer of hope. There's no hope against Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes, no matter what you do, you cannot stop him. He is going to win this game easily, and he's going to win this year's Super Bowl as well.
You made one mistake. Well, two mistakes, actually. Two mistakes in that barbaric rant that, you subjected our viewers to. Two things you missed. You said the Bills don't have a creature like Patrick Mahomes. That's just inaccurate. I mean, that's just inaccurate. It is.
So you're trying to compare Patrick Mahomes to Josh Allen?
Listen. This year, their season's extremely comparable. Ridiculously comparable. And the Bills played a million I think it was 6 top 10 defenses, all of which they won, okay? Listen. You're talking, I talked about overtime. He sent the Patriots and Chiefs to overtime. He, beat up on the Texans when he was down 24-0 and all of this. You're forgetting one thing. One big thing. That was last year. You know who the Bills' best receiver was last year? John Brown. And he's barely played this year. And mostly because of injuries. But right now, there's a good argument that he's their 4th best receiver.
He had a tremendous season, Ian.
He's their 4th best receiver.
Look, they had a tremendous season, Ian.
I'm saying,
I'm sorry. They're not being Kansas City.
The Chiefs.
There's levels to this, Ian. There's levels to this.
The Chiefs
are not the same level as Patrick Mahomes.
The Chiefs have not played. The Chiefs have not dominated any team in weeks. They've been like uninspiring. They've been a team that you watch and you're like, oh, like they're fraud. Like
when you're so dominant over the past couple of years, you can zone out, you can zone by a little bit. You don't have to blow out every single team. But when it counts in the high leverage moments, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have shown time and time again that they are always there, and that look, they basically slept their way to this game, Ian. And the Bills are a great team, but Ian, I'm sorry, there's not enough to beat this Kansas City team.
The Kansas City Chiefs beat Brian Hoyer by a touchdown. They beat Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer by a touchdown. The Bills beat the healthy Patriots by 30.
So you're pointing the one game. You're pointing the one game.
I'm just pointing out.
The Bills now have a chance to beat the Chiefs. Yeah, in the one game.
When the Bills and the Chiefs played in Week 6, the Chiefs won, I believe, by 8 or 9. Right? It was a rainy game. The Bills are not a run team. They don't run the ball. We saw that last week. They throw the ball 50 times a game because Josh Allen's just that good, and they don't really need the run game. On a rainy, windy night in October, the Bills struggle to throw the ball. That happens. And the Chiefs, and they have a better run game. I'll give you that. The Bills, depending weather, the Bills match up extraordinarily well. I think the Chiefs' defense is okay. I don't think it's great. I think Ladarius Sneed is a bit overrated. I think Stephon Diggs destroys him this week. I mean, at a point where when your best corner – what's that?
Look, I'm not saying that the Bills aren't going to put up points against the Chiefs. They will definitely do that. But do you believe that the duo of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs can outscore the duo of Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill?
Oh, wholeheartedly. Because it's going
to be a high-scoring game.
Yes, because listen, Patrick Mahomes set a record for most dropped interceptions this year with 16 dropped interceptions. He's an extraordinarily good player. He is not immune to making mistakes. Same thing with Josh Allen. Obviously, we've seen that this year. He's made mistakes, but every quarterback does. I'm saying the Bills' defense, if they play as well as they did last week, and again, of course, they're much different offenses. The Ravens are not the same offense as the Chiefs by any means. But if the Bills can dominate the line of scrimmage like they did last week against the Ravens, get pressure on Mahomes. I mean, you have Trey White, Taron Johnson, we just had a pick six. Levi Wallace, who's been kind of shaky, but then you have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, maybe the best safety duo in the league. I'm willing to bet Mahomes makes just, not a great decision at some point in this game coughs up the ball, and the Bills have an advantage to take the lead. It's not that I think Mahomes is as good as you can get at the position, but regardless of how good you are, mistakes will be made, and we've seen that this year with him. So I think it'll be a close game, and it'll come down to if the Bills can make Mahomes make a mistake. And the same thing might be said for the Chiefs.
That goes more for the Bills, I would say, Ian, because if you make one little mistake against the Kansas City offense, they're the most explosive offense in the league. They will completely take you up on that, and you'll lose a game because of that, because they're that explosive. You guys cannot make that much mistakes against Mahomes and the Chiefs. So
was 22 points against the Browns explosive? Was 17 points against the Falcons explosive? They have the potential, and we've seen it in the past, but right now this year we have not seen it in a couple of weeks. All right, I am going to rant.
I tried so hard. I
can't
to warn you, Ian.
You know what? Let's wager. Let's throw a wager on this. Let's throw a friendly wager. All right. If the Bills beat the Chiefs, let me think. I'll make a shirt. Okay, I'm gonna make a shirt. I'm gonna write something like. Ian Mills was right, or Ian Mills was correct. Ian Mills is a genius.
I'll wear it.
Written on the shirt. I'm going to make you wear it, okay?
Yeah, I'll wear it.
For a week around campus, just walk around, do your thing.
You know what? Yeah.
Class.
And you know what? If you're wrong, you're wearing New York Knicks gear. New York Knicks gear. I'm absolutely.
I
want a Julius Randle jersey. I want a Manuel Quickley shoes. I want a Dennis Jr. hat.
I want on the front of the shirt, Ian Mills is a genius. On the back of the shirt, I'm an idiot. How does that suffice?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. All right, sounds good to me.
You guys witness this.
Yes, can't wait.
There's a little wager, Ian. I don't know why you did that to yourself, but you know what? Sometimes, folks, you gotta learn the hard way. So we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be a miracle. There'll be the Buffalo miracle. Who knows? But let's talk about the next matchup in the NFL. We'll go now to the NFC matchup, the NFC Championship game, Sunday at 3 p.m. when the Bucs take on the Packers. Ian, are we going to disagree again in this matchup? Right now, the Packers are the 3.5 favorite. Who do you have in this game?
Well, I'm not as passionate about this game as I obviously am with Bills game, but Aaron Rodgers is playing better football than anyone else in the NFL right now. Devontae Adams is playing well. I guess you could probably argue that Stephon Diggs and him are playing similarly well, but I'm going to say Devontae Adams might be better, playing pretty much more dominantly than any other receiver in the NFL right now. Aaron Jones had an insane week last week. I don't know if the Bucs can outscore them, simply because, we saw last week, yes, Tom Brady beat Drew Brees last week, who doesn't really have an arm, who had a collapsed lung. I mean, Drew Brees is not good. I mean, up until, in that game, he was not good. In this year, he was not that good. Tom Brady, a little bit, was exposed last week with his lack of athleticism. He doesn't have the problems Drew Brees has, but he's certainly getting to a point where, he's struggling to throw the ball downfield. Can he still do it? Yeah. But are there times where he lofts the ball up there and I'm like, oh, wow, that wasn't pretty? Absolutely. And I think Aaron Rodgers is just playing better than Tom Brady. I think he's the Packers have a better roster. The thing is the Bucs defense has an extraordinarily good run defense, which is, good, but Aaron Rodgers isn't affected by that. That doesn't affect Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams. So I'm taking Packers here. I think the Packers win by about a touchdown. I'm not as confident in this pick as I am in the previous pick. That being said, I might add, this game is in Lambeau. It might be cold. That doesn't hinder Tom Brady. Obviously, he played in New England for years. So usually you would think a Tampa Bay team would struggle in Lambeau. That's not the case this time. So that might help that because Tom Brady might be one of the greatest cold weather quarterbacks of all time. That being said, Aaron Rodgers is too. So I don't think that really behooves either team. I'm going to take the Packers simply because it's not that I think Tom Brady is bad. I just think he's not as good as Aaron Rodgers right now.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this game, and it's because of people like you, Ian, that continuously rule out Tom Brady and says that Tom Brady cannot win games. He can't do it anymore. He's too old. He's not as good as he used to be. He's 43 years old. Oh, my God. Ian, listen, I would take Tom Brady if he only had one leg in this game. Tom Brady, whenever people bet against Tom Brady, he proves them wrong, and he shows them. And this is time and time again, Tom Brady's legacy. The kid that was drafted in the 6th round, he's never going to stop proving people wrong, even at age 43, Ian. And listen, I want to start by saying that this is going to be a very good game. It's going to be a historical game. It's cool because of the storyline. You have one of the best QBs right now in the game, in Aaron Rodgers, probably going to win this MVP. So he'll have 3 MVPs to his name. You look also at his resume, Aaron Rodgers. He's a 2-time passing touchdown leader, a 3-time passing rate leader. He has 2 seasons he's thrown over 45 touchdowns, Ian. So he's probably right now arguably one of the most talented QBs in the game, aside from Patrick Mahomes. But listen, Tom Brady is like the Michael Jordan of the NFL. Michael Jordan had the last documentary, The Last Dance. This is going to be one of the best episodes on Tom Brady's The Last Dance, because Tom Brady, once again, is going to prove why he is better than Aaron Rodgers as a whole. Because even though Rodgers is better talent-wise, Tom Brady has the experience. And in these high-leverage games, in the championship games, guess what Aaron Rodgers' record is? 1-3, as opposed to Tom Brady, who was 9-4 in championship games. Aaron Rodgers, let's not forget, has only made the Super Bowl once in 2010, and he won it. But ever since then, Tom Brady has went to the Super Bowl 5 times. Tom Brady has been there a total of 9 times. Tom Brady performs better in high leverage moments. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm not trying to say he's not a great player, but in the playoffs, he's had shortcomings in those championship games. Why has he only made 1 Super Bowl in the past 10 years, Ian? Listen, Tom Brady, once again, Tom Brady could have easily retired and not went to Tampa Bay. But guess what, Ian? He's always looking for new challenges. He said, I don't need you, Bill Belichick. I'm going to create my own team. I'm going to recruit my own players, make my own team. I'll recruit Ralph Gronkowski. I'll recruit Antonio Brown. Then I'll have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I'll have the offense under Bruce Arians. Now Tom Brady has a chance to be one of the first players to play a Super Bowl game in the same stadium as the team that's hosting it. So I think Tom Brady is going to rise to the occasion, and because of people like you that continuously count out Tom Brady, he's going to win this game against Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be one of the best episodes in Tom Brady's The Last Dance.
You asked a question, and you said, why is Aaron Rodgers only been to the Super Bowl once in 10 years? And you were talking about, we're comparing Rodgers and Brady, and obviously Brady has had a lot more team accomplishments than Rodgers. And I think in football, at least, we weigh those above individual accomplishments, and I think that's fair. That being said, let me ask you this question. Who is Tom Brady's coach for the last 20 years?
Bill Belichick. And why is he now in Tampa Bay?
No, listen, I'm not finished. Aaron Rodgers' quarterback for his entire career has been, outside the last 2 years, has been Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy. He is – I legitimately believe this to every part of my core, that he is the worst coach in the NFL. I don't know how he has a job anymore. The fact that the Cowboys hired him because he said he knows analytics is ridiculous. He is the worst coach in the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers had him for, 10 years almost? I think more than that, honestly. No, I don't think it was more than 10 years. But it's crazy to think that he had as much success as he did, Aaron Rodgers, with Mike McCarthy as head coach. And this is the first time Aaron Rodgers has had a home championship game. I don't blame him for not having as much Super Bowl success as Brady, simply because it isn't entirely his fault, right? Like, he's never really had, outside of Greg Jennings, which was years ago, he's never really had a number one. Now, Devontae Adams is obviously probably the best receiver in the NFL, so that's great. And they've never really had a great defense, and they've also always had one of the worst coaches in the NFL. Now, Mike LaFleur, I think, is – it's hard to tell how much is him and how much is Rodgers, but I'd like to think Mike LaFleur is a lot better of a coach than Mike McCarthy. So, I think the Bucs are fine. Obviously they're a very good team. They're in the NFC Championship, and that, that's a great accomplishment in itself. But it's hard for me to say that this year, Tom Brady, I'm saying specifically this year, Tom Brady can outplay Aaron Rodgers. It's hard for me to even believe that. I know what happened in week 6 where Rodgers had 2 early interceptions that kind of – one of them wasn't his fault. It was Devontae Adams' fault. But the last 15 weeks or so, or 14 weeks or so, there have been very few teams – or there hasn't been a single player better than Aaron Rodgers. So, I think it's hard for me to believe that Brady would be able to beat him. I think it's possible, but I'm leaning towards Packers.
Something else, another point I need to bring up, because I spoke a lot about Tom Brady, but I also need to give some credit to that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense under Todd Bowles. In that last game, Tom Brady didn't have an amazing game. It wasn't a spectacular game, but their defense was amazing, and they forced 4 turnovers, and they made Drew Brees had a completion rate of 57%. So besides having to overcome Tom Brady and the experience, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is – I'm not saying like it's his fault that he hasn't had that experience. Obviously, you're right. Brady's had that. He's been able to play the privilege to play under Bill Belichick, but that experience is important in these kind of games because Brady's had more exposure to these high leverage games. But their defense as well under Todd Bowles. I'm looking at their defense. I'm looking at Tom Brady, and overall, I just think that Tom Brady and that defense in Tampa Bay is going to be too much to overcome. And the weaponry that they have with the wide receivers and the fact that Tom Brady now has a chance to win his 7th.
Well, two things I want to end on real quick. I think the last 15 years, probably about 10 or so years, we've always wanted to see a Rodgers versus Brady Super Bowl. And obviously this isn't the Super Bowl because now obviously he plays in the NFC. But it's pretty cool that we're going to get that game before they retire. This is a game we've been wanting to see for years, so it's really sick to be able to see that. Wish it was a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but it is what it is. Last thing, I got another wager for you. You up for it? You got another wager? All right.
I'll hear this one out.
Oh, hear this one out? Okay. So, if the Packers win this game, it's another shirt bet. It doesn't have to be a shirt, but I'm thinking.
Okay.
Front of the shirt, Upstate rocks. Back of the shirt, Long Island sucks. Thoughts? I want thoughts. I want some thoughts on this.
Wait, Upstate rocks in the front of the shirt and Long Island sucks.
On the back of the shirt, yeah. Just I'm not in love with the bet, but I certainly like it.
I might have to do some revisions to this bet. I gotta think.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold off on that one. I'm gonna hold off. It wouldn't even be that fun anyway because it would be obvious that it's like if people come up to me like, oh, you made a bet, right? Because like everyone knows that there's no such thing there's no way Upstate's better than Long Island. So it's just like it's not even like fun at that point. It's just like so obvious. So I'll have to further discuss that one and maybe we'll make some revisions to that bet. But I'm open to that. We'll discuss that off the air maybe and maybe we'll come back with the viewers and we'll have a bet in place. That Bills bet that we have is a bet.
That's accurate. So just to recap. I have to wear Knicks stuff.
Yes.
Wear like a Julius.
You'll wear Knicks stuff, and if the Bills somehow win in one of the millions of alternate universes, all right, I'll be forced to. What was I gonna do again? I forgot.
Ian Mills is a genius on the front. I'm an idiot on the back.
Yeah.
I like that.
Ian Mills got one bet right. Like he got one bet right.
One bet. I've been betting on the Bills all year. I'm making.
Oh yeah.
Free money, baby.
It's too bad, because the saying is you sell high, you buy low. The Bills are high right now. You can sell them now and get a large return, but you're not doing it. And for that reason, you're going to regret it later on.
Crazy. They said that last
I'm trying to help you as a friend. I'm just trying to help you.
They said that same thing last week.
I've been through this as a Knicks fan, Ian. I'm just trying to help you out. The Knicks had such a good record a couple weeks ago. They're still good now, but there's a reason and was so happy about them because I knew the moment when you feel like everything's going to go your way is when it all tumbles down.
Well, they're under 500, and I'm sure they wish they picked Tyrese Halliburton over Obi Toppin, but that's a different debate. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're not going to talk about that. I don't want to get into that.
I'm stopping my belief that Obi Toppin's going to be a superstar one day. I'm not stopping that yet. And also, we have Daniel Quickly. He's the point guard for the Knicks. We don't even need Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton is a star right now, but whatever it is.
He's good. He's been really good. He was good. I was thinking about if we didn't select Obi Toppin, he would have been a good point guard for the Knicks for sure. And I don't even know where I stand on it. But you know what, Ian, you can't go back in time and change the past. You can just look into the future. So we'll look into the future. We'll see if the Bills can overcome the Chiefs, and we'll see if the Packers or Tom Brady will be victorious. So it'll be fun to watch for sure. Anyway, that's the end of our segments today. Thank you guys for watching. Next week, we will see either Ian in a Knicks jersey or me wearing that I suck.
Yeah,
So,
well, that'll be on campus. We'll make that on campus. I mean, we'll make the video. We'll have an episode before that, but
TV crew to show exactly.
Right. People have to be able to see it. Yeah.
The TV crew will get we'll get to show off our outfits. So we'll see what happens. Get ready for that one.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one, guys.
What's up, guys?